How's it going, guys? R7 Big Time here. Today, I have another episode of Road to Iridescent on Resurgence Ranked. We're currently sat at Diamond 2. I'm hoping to get another huge win to push us that tiny bit closer to our Iridescent goal. Hopefully, we can do it in this interview. As you guys can see, we've landed at the boat next to the factory. I think the plan is here is to loot up as much as possible. There's a fair few crates on the boat and next to the boat, so you can get your load out reasonably quickly. I can't remember what we do in this game. I don't think we go get our load out right away. We end up pushing a team. But from this location, we managed to find where zone was really going to end up. So we ended up killing a few teams. We held power position, and it was a good game from here on out. And obviously, on our road to Iridescent, you need as many consistent games as possible. The SR that you lose, I'm currently minus 80, so you can't really afford to be. It's all great to run and gun, but you can't really do that with the risk and reward is very different compared to a public game because obviously you're not just loading straight back into another game. You're minus 80, minus whatever, and when you've been grinding for hours, say sometimes you may be getting 20 points at a time, 20 points at a time, so then you take a minus 80, that's a lot of games down the drain. As you can see, my teammate just died there. I didn't know exactly where he got shot from. I know it was the wall, but just up from us. So it was one of them things. It was run out, grab the loadout marker, chuck it down as quickly as possible because you don't want the other team to get that. That's 10 grand down the drain. Long, long time spent losing. Obviously, that puts you back for the majority of the game because you've got to wait till free loadout and it's just not ideal because as soon as you get your guns, you can start running around and trying to get some kills and adding up that SR. So once you do start getting to the final zones, you're at a good place where all your placement points should go towards being as positive. As you can see, I did die unfortunately, but I wasn't in the greatest position. I didn't have the right gun out, but fortunately my teammate was there to get the trade, so that's all that really matters in that situation. I managed to weaken him enough where the teammate managed to run in, get the trade nice and easy. So that put us in a slightly better position. But that's the main thing for ranked is just to be in a position to do the trade. So even if one of you does go down or one of you dies, you can still stop that team in their tracks because as soon as they take out one of you, you're at a disadvantage. So you want to keep the fight as much as a 50-50 as possible instead of once one of you goes down, it's like a 70-30 at that point because that extra fire makes all the difference. As you can see, we haven't really left the factory area. I wouldn't normally recommend this. Like, I don't mind holding power positions, but you don't really know at this point in the zone where the power positions are going to be. It's a great spot because everyone lands here for regaining because it's uh it's an it's an obscure place, so people don't think that people have already landed it. But for us, it meant that we could farm a little bit of SR, we could get a good amount of eliminations before the final zone started creeping in. But we didn't really have to leave the factory area too much. I, we ended up going up towards living as the rotation started to be more clear where we needed to go. But you'll see it in the gameplay. The rotations happen naturally, but that's how you should play ranked. Is you shouldn't be forcing the waves because as soon as you start running in the open, that's when you're gonna get gunned by, especially in Resurgence, off the top of the building. It's not a very fun way to die. On this bit, I kind of went off on my own, which isn't a great idea in ranked. Obviously, you kind of want to stay near your teammates, as most people in this game are going to stack or if they're not stacking, they are going to be reasonably close. So you want to have, unless you can separate the fights into a 1v1, 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 it's probably better to stay with your teammates because especially when you run into a full team that's building. It's not an easy fight to win, and 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to die before you even realize that there's a whole team in there. So don't do what I do in this situation. I tried not to push too much. I I knew that there was at least two, three players in there, so I stayed I stayed shooting them from a distance, and it paid off in the long run. But obviously, you don't want to push any type of fight, because especially when you don't know where everyone is. It's not too bad if you have an advanced UAV or a normal UAV, but with no information and just playing off of a few things off of the minimap, it doesn't give you a lot. So remember to keep your fights at 50-50, or try and keep it as much in your favor as possible. So just by not overextending, it gives you the opportunity to pick off these players, because you've got to think, if I ran straight into that building, I would have died, and there would have been, well, that would have been my loadout gone, that would have been all my money gone, and it would have just put us in a bad situation. But staying in the position that I did, I managed to pick off two of the players, get a little bit more SR, just to put myself in that better position for the late game of this game. So that's all you're really planning for in Resurgence. Is as you get later and later in the game, is that's the more important bit. It's all well and good running around and getting a lot of kills in the first few zones, but ideally you want to have even if you have a mid amount of kills by the end two zones, you're gonna end up picking up a lot more kills towards the end. And the more kills you have at the end is the better option, because as the zones go later and later, you get more SR for each kill. So that's something to consider. Is it's not all about how many kills you get at the start. So we popped an advanced UAV here, and I got a little bit overzealous. I ended up pushing towards top living quarters, and don't get me wrong, it didn't end too badly, but it didn't go great. So try not to, even if you do have an advanced UAV and you have a lot of information. Even in my situation, I was playing with the information, and it didn't work out in my favour. I knew that there was someone above me, and he still downed me, and yeah, it wasn't ideal, but that's what happens when you end up trying to fight more than one player. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't separate the fights enough, so you might think that you have enough time to reload, play up in that time, but unfortunately you don't. So it's a game of margins, but you win some, you lose some, unfortunately, and we'll regain and we'll go again. So here on out, we're kind of in a sticky situation, because we're not really near our teammates, and we're not going to be near them for the rest of the game. So it's all about just trying to stay alive at this point. Resurgence time points went off, so once you're dead, you're dead. So dying isn't really an option at this point. So my thought process right now was just to stay alive, play the zone, and try and just see how far I could get without dying, if this makes sense, because obviously it's a lot easier with three of us on the map, but with one of us at a completely different spot, it doesn't really help us too much. But once it got down to the final zone, it worked out very well, because I was in a different position with a different rotation then. So in the video, we're using the C9 and the Kilo. This is my overkill class, and it's my rebirth class. So I usually run Mountaineer, Quick Fix, and Tempered as my perks for this class. But where I've been playing Big Mac recently, I have ran Ghost, and I think I forgot to take it off in this one. So as you can see, I've only got 3 plates, but that will be because I'm using Ghost. That was my bad for not changing it in this, but it didn't work out too badly. But if you guys are interested in the loadout, I'm more than happy to put it in another video. If you guys give some support and say that you want to see the loadouts and what I use for ranked, I'm more than happy to show you. Unfortunately, this is where the game starts to slow down a little bit, as I said, because where I'm on my own, it's just a case of trying to stay alive for that little bit longer because we're getting, well, we're in these final zones now. So ideally, you want to stay alive, pick off some people, and try and get as many placement points as possible because in ranked, that is the most quintessential time of the game. So you really want to be alive during the end game and try and get as many kills as possible then, because as I said earlier in the video, you can get SR from kills early in the game, but unfortunately you don't get as many points. So ideally, you want to try and space them kills out and get them towards the end of the game because you can cap out your SR for your kills, but obviously you will still get placement points on top of it. But ideally, you would rather try and get them points at the start. Well, at the end of the game is my preference. Mid to end game is my favorite part of Rebirth because the map gets so small, and especially in a ranked lobby, there tends to be quite a few teams left in this really small circle, so things get very dicey very quickly. As you guys would have seen, I let two people just run and make their rotation before even shooting them, and sometimes you need to do this because you need to really pick your battles because as I said, I'm on my own in this situation, so my teammates are across the map. They're not anywhere near me. I don't really have any support. So seeing two people running across in the open, but they have the high ground on me, and they're already in the spot where I needed to be for the rotation. So if I shot them, they would have just turned around, they would have held me, and that would have been me done for the game. But as you saw, I didn't shoot them. I've let them rotate early, and then I'm going to do my rotation behind them. So sometimes it's better not to shoot the people that you see right away. You need to pick and choose your battle sometimes because sometimes it's really not in your favor. And that one, I knew it wasn't going to be favorable for me. I knew I was probably going to lose that gunfight, and it wasn't a situation where I was willing to put myself in that situation. Fortunately, we got really, really lucky with the zone pool. Well, I did anyway, because I was already at that part of zone. So, for me, that pool worked out very, very well. But, as you guys can see, there is a team literally above me to the left. And you can see that by the red dots on the minimap. But the zone's pulled my way. I've seen that them guys are fighting up there. I didn't know how many was up there, but I kind of assumed that there was only going to be one or two of them. So I've hopped up there. I've got the kills, and yeah, fortunately that play worked out in my favour. Now we're on to the final person that's live, but we know exactly whereabouts he is, and it's just a matter of time. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like and a subscribe. It will really mean a lot. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great one. Peace.